Guys, I found this Polaroid camera and I took a picture of myself, and there's like some strange figure right behind me. I don't know how to explain it, but I got to show you. Look at this. It's so scary. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Kevin Reviews. And yes, I just saw on streaming Polaroid from 2019. This is by Dimension Pictures and Lantern Entertainment. Lantern Entertainment used to be at the time the Weinstein Company, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But I think most of you know what happened with the Weinstein Company. This is directed by Lars Klevberg, who also directed the short film in 2016, I believe. I forget the year, but he directed a short film called of the same name called Polaroid. Um, but yeah, he directed this and he wrote this along with Blair Butler as the other writer. This stars Kathryn Prescott, Samantha Logan, Tyler Young, Priscilla, Quintana, and Keenan Tracey. This is an interesting film in terms of how it's developed. Not much the film itself. Again, this is directed by Lars Klevberg, who originally did the short story in 2015, and the language is in Norwegian. I watched a little bit of it, mostly like certain parts in the beginning, middle, and end, but not the whole entire thing. It's about 15 minutes long, and because at the same time um, I was watching the film exactly. So, I mean, I didn't know at the time it was a short horror film until I looked it up. Um, but yeah, I glanced through it, and it doesn't have a lot of hits on YouTube, and I not sure exactly how it became a movie, but I guess somebody saw it and thought it was great. The short horror film itself got like 10,000 over 10,000 views, I think. Um, but otherwise, it's not as popular as say Lights Out. That film garnered millions of views, and it even turned into a movie that was well praised. So I mean, the thought idea of doing Polaroid was, thought it was at the time a good idea. And it's not the first short horror film that focused on Polaroid. There's actually like two, maybe three more short horror films about the Polaroid camera. But otherwise, yeah, this is Clev's Lars Klevberg's supposed to be his film debut, his magnum opus and whatnot. But unfortunately, how he got it produced, where it was produced, was the eventual downfall of the film. Because some of you may know that about Harvey Weinstein, because this is by the Weinstein Company and about the sexual scandal. I don't personally look at all that stuff happening, but yeah, there was a sexual scandal involving Harvey Weinstein, and it was really atrocious and what he did, and that basically tanked the company. And because of that, it shut the Polaroid film was shelved for a while until eventually got picked up by Vertical Entertainment, and even the Weinstein Company changed its name to Lantern Entertainment. So Dimension Films, just had it basically on the shelf, and they uh, basically, wanted to try to, basically finish it up or at least release it. But because they know that this film just was kind of lost through time and, shelved too long and even had some problems, I think, behind the scenes, they figured just do a limited release in theaters and just put it on streaming. And that's what they did. So I feel bad because I'm sure Lars Klevberg's wanted to do something great for this film, and unfortunately, that did not turn out the way he hoped. Um, I don't know all the information, and I'm just making assumptions. But I mean, at the time, it did make sense. I mean, we had recently Chris Stuckman's Shelby Oaks, and even Markiplier's Iron Lung. So I mean, there's a lot of more companies that are looking at small time directors or even those on YouTube who even finance the film themselves to basically come up with something that's people will like. So that was the thought, I guess, for Polaroid. Um, but yeah, it did have some problems, unfortunately, and I will get into it right now. Here's my review of Polaroid from 2019. So the story in Polaroid involves a girl named Bird Fitcher, who gets a Polaroid camera given to her by a friend of hers that he found in a garage sale. And so she's a photographer, so she goes around taking pictures using the Polaroid camera. Um, Unfortunately, this certain time she's taking pictures of individuals, they died. And then when she takes a group photo, she finds there's this shadowy figure in the photos, and now she determined that this shadowy figure is the responsible for killing the people she knows. So now she has to find a way to basically stop this figure before her friends in the group photo that she took are get killed off one by one. So yeah, and that's pretty much the story. There is other characters too, but I'll probably get into them later. But the main story is Kathryn Prescott, Bird Fetcher, trying to stop this entity in the camera. So it didn't develop well. Um, yeah, this is not a good film. Um, I wouldn't say it's the worst. This is one I'm not as angry about because I think in a large part of that is it's because of its development. It really I feel bad that what Lars Klevberg was trying to do, what others were trying to do, and whether or not its original release would have worked, I don't know. But I can tell that there was a lot of problems that happened because of the Harvey Weinstein scandal. So I don't know. I because that for that reason, and because I saw it on streaming and this was not released in theaters, I'm not as angry about it. I'm not as angry as the stupidity of like the War of the Worlds um, or some other films or other films. Really, this one didn't make me that angry, though there are moments where it did. Um, but for the most part, the main problem is the story. It is redundant. It does feel familiar because it's not the first that focused on a cursed camera. I mean, if you are a '90s kid and you grew up watching these shows, Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps, you know there's a story involving a camera that when taking pictures of somebody, they face misfortune or they die. Um, Are You Afraid of the Dark was The Tale of the Curious Camera, and Goosebumps is the more popular one, Say Cheese and Die, that even had a sequel. So I've seen both, and they're fine for what they were as a TV series, as good as the tales, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, the idea of the camera is interesting, and the idea of an entity involving a camera is interesting because even I remember in history, Native Americans did when photograph was a thing, and Native Americans did not want their photographs taken because they felt like taking somebody's photograph basically steals their soul or their spirit. And I guess that's where the concept started, is that this entity or this thing basically takes you, or takes your life, and that in a way makes sense. So I can understand where the idea came from, and it's an interesting idea. It's just that it's been done before. The other thing is the characters. Bert, Kathryn Prescott as Bird Fetcher. I mean, strange name enough, is is very unforgettable. Frankly, I will say this: a lot of the characters here are pretty forgettable. I barely remember any performance that they give because they just either phone it in or just felt like they didn't want to put that much 100% effort because they either knew it wasn't going to be do turn out very well, or there wasn't high hopes, or the story wasn't as fleshed out. Even there was some um, there was even more film to this, but it got shelved. That basically just got forgotten, and that's why it turned into a 1.5 hour movie. Um, but yeah, I barely remember the characters. Bert Fetcher does have a kind of a backstory that even when she goes into it later on in the film, it doesn't really feel like it doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel like it really truly mattered to her. But I mean, in the film, she also wears a scarf because she's hiding a scar on her neck that involves what she went through. And people are supposed to make fun of her, yet she knows these other characters along the way that she's friends with. So I don't know. I don't genuinely get it. It doesn't make sense in terms of her character and story. I mean, she's a nice girl. She didn't know what she was getting into, but yeah, otherwise her performance was forgetful, just like the other characters. I'm sorry. The other characters, there's like supposed to be this love relationship between I think Tyler Young's character Connor Bell, but it's not fleshed out enough. It's just more like she's the boy she's probably attracted to, and there's like even a moment in the party that makes absolutely no sense why they have it in there. She's at a Halloween party. I'm probably going to give a little spoiler away. There's a moment in the Halloween party where she's dressed as Red Riding Hood, still wearing the scarf. And there's a moment where she takes a tarot card and says death on it. Well, later in the film, she's kind of standing around at a party. She sees somebody in a Grim Reaper skull looking mask that's just kind of staring at her like a serial killer. You got even the head tilts and stuff like that, just looking at her. And then a few seconds later, he shows up with the same mask, takes it off, and it's like, hey, I'm a nice looking good dude, really. So I'm a nice looking dude. So, and I I don't get it. Why put that in there? And are they also hinting that he's going to probably kill her as a serial killer? That doesn't. It's not even fleshed out. It's not even. It just feels like an idea that got scrapped. It's I don't know. I don't know what the idea or point of that was. That bothered me. It's so unbelievably pointless. Um, yeah, their chemistry when they eventually meet and the chemistry and they try to work together to defeat this entity. I I don't it doesn't work. I don't feel the chemistry. I don't feel any sympathy for what they're going through because they don't seem to care about what they're going through. And it's not like they don't care. I just wish they was more that I could care about these characters, about these teenagers because this is like filmed from the 90s or like it's like a slasher film from the 80s or 90s where a lot of it is just mainly the stuff behind the story and the killer, but the characters are just forgotten or forgettable really. It's just forgettable. I barely remember, and I'm sure some of them tried, but it didn't really work out, and maybe they knew it didn't work out. I mean, to be honest, yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm sorry. I really don't remember much of these characters. But the other characters that they play, you got Samantha Logan playing Casey, forgettable. Kenneth Keenan Tracey, Devin, forgettable. It does have a couple moments where he does act, so great, but forgettable. Priscilla and Quintana, Mina, also forgettable. They're just forgettable. I barely remember, and I even looked up their filmography, and there's nothing that I've seen them in that really warrants much attention. I'm sure they tried. I'm sure. I'm not trying. I don't want to be too harsh, but it's more like I'm being harsh on just what the final product was. I'm sure they tried. It just didn't really work out. So yeah, and there's also this other story element involving this entity, where it came from, what's behind the story of this, you know, story. And at first, I was liking it. It, I mean, at first it was liking this, but it did eventually involve these twists. One twist that I didn't see coming that I thought was at least interesting, and and would make sense. But then all of a sudden it does another twist, and it's like, what are you doing? It's like they had different ideas on how they wanted to do the story, and they just thought do them both. It's like Alien 3, where they combine certain parts of the story involving a prison which that's a religious or a religious cult or something like that, and there's like no guns in the prison, so they just shove all that thing together and just said done. And that's kind of what it feels like. It's they're just done with this film. And yeah, it it doesn't. It's like so. I bought the first twist. The second twist ruined it for me because that just feels like they went back on what they had planned. So yeah, the story does not work. Is there anything good? I like I said that the first twist in the story was at least interesting enough that got me that at least hooked me in, and I bought. Um, it that was at least believable. Yeah, and then when the next twist happened, I just it lost me completely. So I mean that really did really anger me. The other thing is there are a couple jump scares that I did jump at, and it was somewhat creative, but the rest of it is pretty forgettable. It's just predictable, instantly. So and yeah, it does follow the same kind of horror tropes, but even horror tropes from the 90s and 80s that stupid survivors fall into. So that's unfortunate, really. Um, like in terms of way it's shot pretty well. Though there's a lot of places where it's shot in the dark, and sometimes it's not easy to see. Which I'm understanding that they did it because that's part of the this entity's how the entity hunts, basically, stalks its next victim. But I didn't, they could have been a little bit more creative. Even the entity itself, when you see it, it's very forgettable. It's not as memorable, really. And I don't know. I think in a way this film could have worked if it just got was more campy because I don't know the idea of a Polaroid camera in the 2010s when everyone has their iPhone. It's like, why would you want to use a Polaroid camera? I mean, it just doesn't really. I didn't. I don't think it would have appealed to a lot of teenagers even then. So I don't think I would have bought it. I think at the time she would just look at it, when she first gets it, I would just think she would just instantly put it away because it's old. It's not as, you know, it probably doesn't hold up as, the current cameras nowadays. So I didn't really buy that. There's is at least one creative thing, and this is in the trailer, so you can see it in the trailer. When you try to destroy the photo, the what happens in the photo affects the person in real life. So there's a moment in the trailer where they try to lit the photo on fire, and as it burns a girl's arm, and they couldn't put it out. They had to put the picture out, the photo out, stamp it out basically, and then once that happens, the picture would go back to normal. But the effect of the burn would still affect the girl. So that at least was creative. But even when they try to use that creativity later in in the film, it doesn't pay off really. And then it actually kind of pays off. It doesn't pay off when when at one moment they do try it, and the second time they do it, it does pay off. But it's like, well, you could have done that in the first time, but I don't know. It just it could have been smarter in its writing. It needed more time. It needed more into the film, really. But yeah, I don't think this is a very good film. It didn't anger me. It wouldn't. I don't think it would have angered me had this because at least because I understand what it went through. It just feels like a run of the mill horror film that you've seen before that doesn't really amount to anything. It's not You're not going to remember it in like a day. And otherwise, it has some moments. It had some at least a couple scares, at least one interesting twist before they go back on it finally. But because of the characters are so flat and forgettable, and just the redundant storytelling of a cursed camera, it that's where it falters. Really, in my opinion. Have you not seen uh, the Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps or any film that involves a cursed camera? Um, then I think you might enjoy this okay. I don't know if the characters will really do it for you, but I think you would find it okay. For me, I give this 1.5. Again, this is not one I think really angered me. It angered me a couple moments, but otherwise, yeah, I give it 1.5. It's not very good. I I say only see it if you're curious. If you know, kind of want to waste your time, it's not a long movie. It's an hour and a half again. Um, but yeah, honestly, it's just a forgettable movie. So, have you seen Polaroid? What are your thoughts on the film? Leave in the comments below. Leave a like or dislike the review if you wish. That's fine. Feel free to subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell so you'll be updated on any more future videos. And I will see you guys in the next review. Bye.